Do you ever get that feeling that someone's behind you? That prickling at the back of your neck, like unseen eyes are locked onto you? Last night I felt it, and I was right. I was walking home just a few blocks from my friend's place. It wasn't that late, maybe 11 p.m. The streets should have still had life, a passing car, a distant voice, something. But there was nothing. Just the sound of my own footsteps. Or at least, I thought they were mine. Halfway down the block, a chill crawled up my spine. My steps felt wrong, out of sync. I slowed down. And that's when I heard it, an extra step. Just one. Not an echo. Not mine. I turned my head slightly, heart thudding, trying to see without fully looking back. The street was empty. But I knew I wasn't alone. I wasn't even supposed to be walking home that night. My friend offered to call me a ride, but I waved it off. It was just a few blocks. Why waste the money? The neighborhood wasn't bad, and I'd done this walk 100 times before. Same streets, same dim streetlights, same quiet. But that night, something was different. It wasn't the darkness that unsettled me. It was the silence. No distant sirens, no rustling leaves, no humming streetlights. Just a heavy, unnatural stillness. I checked my phone, 5% battery. Figures. I shoved it back into my pocket and kept walking, convincing myself I was just being paranoid. But with every step, that uneasy feeling grew. Like I was being watched. Or followed. As I walked under the next streetlight, I noticed something strange. There were two shadows. One was mine, stretching out in front of me. The other, longer, thinner, was beside it. Almost overlapping. I spun around, my breath catching in my throat. Nothing. Just the empty street behind me. I exhaled sharply, shaking my head. My nerves were getting to me. Maybe it was a trick of the light. Maybe I was just tired. I forced a chuckle and kept walking. But as I passed the next streetlight, the second shadow returned. This time I didn't turn around. I just walked faster. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Light, deliberate, just behind me. I stopped. The footsteps stopped. My heart pounded as I stood frozen in place, listening. The silence pressed in again, heavy and unnatural. I swallowed hard and took another step forward. So did the footsteps. My hands were clammy, my breath uneven. Every nerve in my body screamed at me to keep walking, to ignore whatever was behind me. But I made a mistake. I looked back. The street was empty. No people, no cars, just rows of dim streetlights stretching into the distance. But something was wrong. The silence. It wasn't just quiet, it was absolute. No distant traffic, no rustling leaves, no hum of city life. Like the world had been muted. I pulled out my phone with shaking fingers and tried to check the time. The screen flickered. Lines of static distorted the display before the whole thing glitched out and died. A chill crawled up my spine. I turned back toward my path, forcing my feet to move. Just a few more blocks. Just keep going. That's when I saw it. Up ahead, standing directly beneath the next streetlight, was a figure. They weren't moving. Just standing there. Still. Too still. Their face was shadowed, their features unreadable. A pulse of raw fear shot through me. I instinctively stepped to the side, thinking I could go around them. They didn't move. But the second my eyes blinked, they were closer. My breath hitched. I hadn't seen them move. No shifting weight, no footsteps. Just closer. I took a step back, my heartbeat hammering in my ears. The figure remained motionless. But something about them felt wrong, like they weren't just standing there. Like they were watching. I swallowed hard, trying to make out their face. But it was blurred, distorted, as if my eyes refused to process it. My vision kept trying to adjust, but the more I focused, the more it seemed to shift. I forced myself to look away. Just keep walking. Don't acknowledge it. But as I stepped forward, I caught something from the corner of my eye. A shadow. Not mine. It stretched out beside me, long and unnatural under the streetlights. But there was no one there to cast it. A cold sensation crawled up my spine. My mind screamed at me to run. But I didn't. Because when I turned my head ever so slightly, there was another shadow. Right behind me. I felt my stomach drop. Every instinct told me I wasn't alone. The silence deepened, heavy and suffocating. Even the distant hum of the city seemed to vanish. My skin prickled as if unseen eyes were crawling over me. I forced myself to take another step. My movements felt sluggish like walking through water. My breath came in shallow bursts. Then, a sound. Not a footstep. Not a voice. A whisper. So close it might as well have been inside my head. "You shouldn't have looked." I spun around. Nothing. The street was empty. The figure, the one that had been standing ahead of me, was gone. But I knew better than to think I was alone. I walked faster, my hands clenched into fists. The street felt longer, stretching endlessly. My building, my only escape, was still too far away. And then, just as I reached the next streetlight, my shadow moved. But I hadn't. I ran. Not a cautious walk. Not a hurried pace. I ran. The moment my shadow moved without me, something inside me snapped. My body reacted before my brain could. My feet pounded against the pavement, lungs burning, heart slamming against my ribs. The city was dead silent. No cars, no voices, no wind, just the sound of my own breathing and the rapid thudding of my footsteps. And something else. A second set. I didn't dare look back. I couldn't. I just knew if I looked I'd see it. The street felt endless, stretching far beyond what it should have. I swore my building was just a block away, but no matter how far I ran, it stayed just out of reach. Then, another sound. Not footsteps. Not a whisper. Breathing. Right behind me. I pushed harder, my legs screaming, but it didn't matter. The sound stayed with me, matching my every move. And then, I heard it. "You dropped something." The words were right in my ear. I tripped. Or maybe I was pushed. My knees slammed against the pavement, hands scraping raw as I caught myself. My breath came in panicked gasps, my mind screaming at me to move. I turned my head just a fraction. Shadows. Too many. The streetlights stretched them out, bending them unnaturally. I saw my own sprawled along the pavement. But beside it, another. Taller. Shifting. And wrong. Moved. Not like a person. Like something imitating one. I scrambled up, sprinting toward my building. This time it was there, just ahead, just within reach. My fingers fumbled for my keys as I reached the door, hands shaking so violently I almost dropped them. A shape darkened the glass behind me. I didn't look. I didn't need to. I shoved the door open, stumbled inside, and slammed it shut. Silence. I was inside. But the moment I turned to the window, my stomach dropped. The street was empty. But my shadow. It was still outside. I stood there, gasping, my forehead pressed against the cool wooden door. My fingers still gripped the keys so tightly they dug into my skin. My whole body was shaking. I was inside. I was safe, right? The silence in my apartment was suffocating. No hum of the fridge. No creaks from the pipes. Just my own ragged breathing. I turned slowly toward the window. The street was empty. No figures. No twisted shadows. Just the flickering streetlight casting a dull orange glow. For a second I thought, maybe I imagined it. Maybe the fear had gotten to me. Maybe. My phone buzzed. I nearly dropped it. My heart leapt into my throat as I yanked it out of my pocket. The screen glowed in the dim light, a notification staring back at me. Unknown number, you walk fast. Every hair on my body stood on end. My thumb trembled as I swiped the message away. A glitch. A wrong number. It had to be. I had to believe that. But then I looked up, past my reflection in the window, out into the street. And I saw it. A shadow. Not a person. Just the shadow. Stretched unnaturally long under the flickering streetlight. Standing where I had been just moments ago. And even though I was inside, even though the street was empty, even though there was no one there, the shadow moved. It turned. Like it was looking at me. I stumbled back, heart slamming against my ribs. My breath hitched as my reflection in the glass didn't move with me. It just stood there, watching. And then, it smiled. I don't walk home alone anymore. I don't walk at night at all. But it doesn't matter. Because sometimes, in the middle of the night, my phone still buzzes with messages from an unknown number. Because sometimes when I pass a mirror, my reflection lingers a second too long. And because no matter where I go, there's always a shadow, waiting. Have you ever woken up to a sound so out of place that your body knows something's wrong before your mind does? That happened to me last night. It was 3 a.m. I don't know what woke me up at first, maybe instinct. But as soon as I opened my eyes, I heard it. Footsteps. Inside my house. Not the house settling. Not pipes. Actual, slow, deliberate footsteps moving down the hall. I froze, my heart hammering against my ribs. My brain struggled to make sense of it. I live alone. I lay there listening, counting the steps, one after another, getting closer. Then they stopped, right outside my bedroom door. I didn't move, didn't breathe. I just stared at the sliver of darkness under the door. And then from the other side, 3 soft taps. Not knocking, just tapping. I've lived in this house for 3 years. It's nothing fancy, just a small place in a quiet neighborhood. The kind of quiet that's supposed to be peaceful. I've never felt unsafe here. I double-check the locks every night. I keep things in order. There's no one else who has a key. Last night was no different. I followed my usual routine. Locked the doors, turned off the lights, went to bed around midnight. Nothing felt off. Nothing seemed strange. Until I woke up at 3 a.m. The house was dark. Silent. Exactly how it should be. Except for the footsteps. I kept telling myself there had to be a logical explanation. Maybe I was dreaming. Maybe it was the house settling. Maybe. Tap, tap, tap. That same slow, deliberate tapping against my bedroom door. I wasn't dreaming. I held my breath, straining to listen. Silence. For a moment, I almost convinced myself I imagined it. Maybe I was still half asleep, my mind playing tricks on me. Then the tapping came again. 3 slow, deliberate taps. Right against my bedroom door. I felt my pulse hammering in my ears. I wanted to believe it was just my nerves, but deep down, I knew. This wasn't the house settling. This wasn't a dream. Someone was inside my house. I reached for my phone, my fingers trembling. No signal. That didn't make sense. I always had reception here. I tried the Wi-Fi. Nothing. My internet was down. I gripped the edges of my blanket, frozen in place, my brain scrambling for an explanation. Maybe it was a prank? Maybe someone broke in? But how? The doors were locked. The windows were closed. Then the floor outside my room creaked. Long, slow steps moving down the hall. I pictured someone standing just beyond the door, listening, waiting. I forced myself to sit up. I needed to check. I needed to know. I swung my legs over the bed, every muscle in my body tense. Then, the footsteps stopped. My hand hovered over the doorknob, my breath shaky. I hesitated, every instinct screaming at me not to do it. But I had to see. I had to know. The second my fingers touched the metal, the tapping stopped. I froze. It was like whoever was out there knew. Like they were waiting. Slowly, carefully, I twisted the knob. The door creaked as it swung open. I expected, no, I knew, something would be there. But the hallway was empty. A single lamp in the living room cast a dim glow, stretching long, eerie shadows across the walls. The air felt wrong, too thick, as if someone had just been standing there moments ago. I took a step forward, my socks barely making a sound against the hardwood floor. My heart pounded so loudly that I could barely hear anything else. I checked the front door, locked. I glanced at the windows, still latched. The kitchen, the bathroom, the guest room, nothing out of place. But that didn't explain the footsteps. I turned back toward my bedroom, a growing unease settling in my stomach. That's when I saw it. A shadow at the end of the hall. Not cast by anything. Not attached to a person. Just a shadow stretching across the floor. And then, it moved. It didn't walk. It shifted. Like a flickering image, like something was distorting reality itself. I took a step back. My breathing became uneven. The hallway light flickered. Then, in a split second, it was gone. I stood there, my body frozen in fear, staring at the empty space where the shadow had been. I should have left the house right then and there. But I didn't. And that was my mistake. I swallowed hard, my hands clammy as I backed toward my bedroom. My legs felt weak, but I forced them to move. I needed to get out, needed to think, But my brain was failing me, stuck between fight and flight. Then I heard it again. Footsteps. But not in the hallway. Above me. The slow, deliberate creaking of weight shifting across the ceiling. My breath caught in my throat. My house didn't have an upstairs. The sound moved, soft at first, then heavier, like someone was pacing. My eyes darted to the ceiling. The plaster above me looked unchanged, solid, undisturbed. But the sound was clear as day, as if someone was right there, separated from me by only a few inches of wood and drywall. And then, it stopped. Right above where I was standing. I bolted. I rushed into the living room, fumbling with the light switch. The bulb flickered but didn't come on. My heart pounded as I spun in a circle, my instincts telling me I wasn't alone. A whisper of movement caught my eye, a shift in the darkness by the front door. I turned toward it, every muscle in my body screaming to run. And then knocking. Not at the front door. Not at the windows. But from inside the walls. A soft, rhythmic tapping, like fingertips drumming just beneath the surface. Tap, tap, tap. It traveled, moving from the far wall to the one beside me, then behind me. I spun, my chest tightening. I could feel it now. Something was there, pressing in just out of sight. And then the knocking stopped. A breath of silence. And then, directly behind me, a whisper. I see you. I didn't turn around. I ran. I sprinted toward the front door, my pulse hammering so hard I could barely hear anything else. My fingers fumbled against the lock, slick with sweat, twisting and jerking at the deadbolt. Behind me, the footsteps started again. Heavy. Rush. Closer. I refused to look. I knew if I turned around I'd see it. Finally, the lock gave way. I yanked the door open and stumbled outside, nearly falling onto the cold pavement of my driveway. Silence. The second I crossed the threshold, everything stopped. No footsteps. No tapping. No whispering. Just the dead, empty quiet of the night. My chest heaved as I spun around, staring into the darkened doorway of my own house. The lights inside were still off. Nothing moved. The air itself felt heavy, suffocating, like the house was holding its breath. Then, a shift in the shadows. Something was standing just beyond the doorway, blending into the darkness. I couldn't make out its form, but I could feel it staring at me. I took a step back. Then another. The thing in the doorway didn't move. It just stood there, watching. Then the door slammed shut. I jumped, the echo of it rattling through the quiet night. My breath came in ragged gasps as I stood there, frozen, unsure of what to do. I wasn't going back inside. Not now. Maybe not ever. The night air was cold against my skin, grounding me, making me feel like I was finally waking up from whatever nightmare I had just stepped into. But then my phone buzzed in my pocket. A text. I hesitated before pulling it out, my fingers shaking as I swiped to unlock the screen. Unknown number. Why did you run? My stomach dropped. My hands went ice cold. The house was completely silent now, but I knew whatever was inside wasn't gone. And worse, it was waiting for me to come back. I didn't go back inside. Not that night. I got in my car, drove straight to my friend Eric's place, and crashed on his couch without saying a word. When he woke up the next morning and found me there, I told him everything. He laughed. Dude, you probably dreamed it. Sleep paralysis or something. I didn't argue. Maybe it would have been easier to believe that. But I knew what I heard. I knew what I saw. That evening I forced myself to go back home. I wasn't going to let some hallucination, or whatever the hell it was, chase me out of my own house. I stepped inside slowly, holding my breath. The air smelled the same. Everything looked the same. Nothing out of place. Maybe Eric was right. Maybe my mind had played a trick on me. But then I saw my bedroom door. It was open. I never leave my bedroom door open. Ever. I distinctly remember closing it before I left. A cold wave of dread washed over me. I stepped forward cautiously, peering into my room. It was empty. Nothing looked touched. But something felt wrong, like the air itself was heavier. Then I saw it. On the hardwood floor just inside the doorway, a single dusty footprint. My breath caught in my throat. I hadn't stepped there. I had been wearing socks the night before. I felt my hands go numb, my entire body screaming at me to leave. but I couldn't move. I could only stare at that single print as if looking at it too long might make it disappear. Then, my phone buzzed. A text. I already knew what it would say before I even looked. Unknown number, you left the door open. I didn't sleep that night, or the next, because I knew deep down whatever had been in my house that night. It never left. I don't sleep through the night anymore. Not since that night. Not since I heard the footsteps. Sometimes I wake up at 3 a.m., heart pounding, drenched in sweat, listening. The house is always silent. But I know silence doesn't mean I'm alone. Sometimes when I lie there too afraid to move, I feel it. The heavy air. The sense that something is just outside my door. And every now and then, just barely, just faintly, I hear it again. A single step. A slow, deliberate tap. Waiting. Like it's just reminding me, it's still here. Do you ever get that feeling like someone's right behind you? That prickling sensation on the back of your neck, the weight of unseen eyes? I had that feeling last night, and I was right. I was walking home, a route I'd taken 100 times before. The streets were empty, the air still. No distant sirens, no late-night conversations drifting from apartment windows. Just silence. Too much silence. At first I didn't notice it. I was halfway down the block when it hit me. My footsteps weren't the only ones. There was an extra step. Just a half second behind mine. I slowed down. It slowed down. I stopped. It stopped. My breath caught in my throat as I turned around. The street was empty. No one was there. But I knew I wasn't alone. I wasn't even out that late. Just past 11. I'd been at a friend's place catching up. Nothing unusual. The walk home was barely 10 minutes, short, familiar, safe. At least it was supposed to be. I'd taken this route 100 times before. Same cracked sidewalks, same flickering streetlight on the corner. I knew every turn, every alley, every shortcut. But last night something felt different. It wasn't just the silence. It was the way the air felt heavier, like the night itself was watching me. I tried to shake it off. Maybe I was just tired. Maybe my mind was playing tricks on me. Then I heard it again. A second pair of footsteps. I picked up my pace, my heart thudding against my ribs. The footsteps did too. Not running. Not dragging. Just matching me step for step. I told myself I was imagining things. I told myself to stay calm. Then I saw it, a shadow that shouldn't be there. I passed under a street light and that's when I saw it. A second shadow. It stretched beside mine, long and distorted against the pavement. But there was no one there to cast it. I stopped. My shadow stopped. But the other one, it hesitated. Then slowly it caught up. My throat went dry. I turned around, scanning the empty street. Nothing. Just parked cars and darkened houses. But I knew I wasn't alone. I forced myself to keep walking. Fast, controlled steps. Then, somewhere behind me, something whispered. You dropped something. I spun around so fast I nearly lost my balance. The street was empty. The air felt thick, like the whole world was holding its breath. I swallowed hard, gripping my phone, my fingers cold and stiff. I checked the ground. Nothing. Nothing I could have dropped. I wanted to call someone. Just to hear a voice. Just to feel real again. But when I pulled out my phone, the screen glitched. The time flickered, numbers distorting into nonsense. Then, a soft creak. Not from my phone. Not from a house. From the streetlight above me. I looked up. Something moved at the edge of the light. Something I couldn't quite see. And then it stepped forward. I didn't mean to look. I shouldn't have looked. At first, I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. The figure standing under the streetlight wasn't solid. It was like a smudge in reality, a distortion in the air itself. I stepped back. It didn't move. But the moment I blinked, it was closer. I gasped, stumbling a step back, my pulse hammering in my ears. It wasn't walking. It wasn't running. It was just closer. I tried to force myself to think logically. Maybe it was a shadow from something else. Maybe I was overtired. Maybe. You're going the wrong way. The voice was wrong. Flat. Like someone mimicking human speech but getting the rhythm all off. I nearly dropped my phone as I spun around, bolting in the opposite direction. I didn't care if I looked crazy. I just needed to get away. But then, another shape, standing ahead of me. No face, no features, just a human-like outline, dark against the night. My stomach twisted. My hands went ice cold. I turned back toward my apartment. It wasn't far now, just a couple of blocks. But when I glanced over my shoulder, the street had changed. It was longer. The houses looked different, like I had stepped into another version of my neighborhood. And the figure under the streetlight? It was gone. But the second shadow beside me? It was still there, matching my steps, staying close. I wanted to scream, but I knew I wasn't supposed to make a sound. I forced myself to keep walking, not running. Running felt like the wrong move. My apartment was in sight now, just a few blocks. But every step felt wrong, like the ground beneath me wasn't solid anymore. I tried not to look to my side, not at the extra shadow. It was keeping up, matching my every movement. Then, just as I thought I was in the clear, you dropped something. The voice came from behind me, right behind me. My body locked up. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. Cold breath brushed the back of my neck. A whisper. Pick it up. I ran. Full speed, lungs burning, heart slamming against my ribs. I didn't look back. I knew if I did, I'd see something I wasn't supposed to. The street ahead twisted, stretched. My apartment should have been right there, but it was farther away now. Too far. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I ignored it, sprinting for my life. Then silence. The world went dead quiet. Even my own footsteps sounded muffled, like I was running through water. I reached my apartment door, nearly slamming into it. My hands shook as I jammed the key into the lock. As I fumbled with the handle, my phone buzzed again. I yanked it out, fingers shaking. One new message. A photo. It was my front door, taken from the other side. My breath caught in my throat. The photo was impossible. Someone, something, was inside my apartment. I turned the key so hard it nearly snapped. The door finally gave way and I stumbled inside, slamming it shut behind me. Silence. I pressed my back against the door, chest heaving. My phone buzzed again. Another photo. The hallway. Taken from right outside my bedroom. My vision blurred. My head pounded. No. No, no, no. I locked every bolt, every latch, every chain. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. Then, a knock. Soft, gentle. 3 slow taps. My stomach dropped. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Another knock. Louder this time. More insistent. I looked at my phone, my fingers slipping over the screen. Another message appeared. Open the door. I bit down on my lips so hard I tasted blood. Then the doorknob twisted. Not violently. Not aggressively. Just a slow. Testing the lock. A soft click. Then through the door in my own voice, whispering. You're going the wrong way. The room spun. I gripped the handle, holding it shut with everything I had. Then, nothing. The air changed. The pressure lifted. I listened. No footsteps. No breathing. I dared to check my phone one last time. One final message. A photo. Taken from the peephole. And in it, a shadow. Tall. Waiting. Smiling. I don't know how long I stood there, my back pressed against the door, heart hammering so hard it felt like my ribs would crack. My phone was still in my hand, screen dimmed, that last photo burned into my vision. The shadow. Waiting. Watching. I forced myself to move to check the peephole. Nothing. Just my empty hallway, still and quiet as ever. But something felt different. I checked every lock again, my fingers trembling. Bolted the windows. Drew the curtains. Turned every light on. The apartment looked the same, but it wasn't. The air was wrong. Thicker. Heavier. Like I wasn't alone anymore. I tried to sleep that night, but every time I closed my eyes, I heard it. The footsteps. Not loud. Not stomping. Just soft, careful steps. Inside my apartment. Circling my bed. I stayed frozen, gripping my blanket so hard my fingers ached. At some point, exhaustion took over. I don't remember falling asleep, but I remember waking up. And when I did, my bedroom door was open, just a crack, like someone had been standing there, watching. And on my phone, one final photo. Me, sleep, taken from inside my room. I don't walk home alone at night anymore. But it doesn't matter, because whatever was out there, it followed me home. Some nights I wake up gasping for air, certain that someone is standing over me. Some nights my phone buzzes. A new notification. No number. No name. Just another photo. The hallway. My bedroom door. Open a little wider than before. And a shadow. Standing just beyond the frame. Closer than last time.